أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين. So, in the previous class, I was talking about the hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I have to write it because that's how I will connect with that. So, hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, this is narrated in Tafseer Noor uth-Thaqalayn. So that's volume 1 and page 19. So this is, we're talking about the meaning of rahmat, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the meaning of the word mercy and rahmat. So here in this hadith, Imam alayhi salam is teaching us, inna rahmata wa ma yahdathu minha. The mercy and what comes, what happens out of the mercy. يحدث وما يحدث لنا منها. يحدث لنا منها. What happens to us from the mercy, out of the mercy. شفقة. ومنها جود. So when mercy happens to people like us, what happens to us is that there is a shafaqat, means an affectionate feeling, affection happen inside our qalb, our heart, and because of that mercy also we end up doing generosity. So there is a feeling in the heart and there is an action in the outside world based on that feeling. Two things happen out of the mercy to us. Something in the heart, that's the inside, something in the outside world, which is the action based on the mercy. That's generosity in this case. So, وَإِنَّ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ ثَوَابُهُ وَإِنَّ Rahmatullahi. Whereas the rahmat of Allah is His reward. Thawabuhu. لِخَلْقِهِ. وَلِلرَّحْمَةِ مِنَ الْعِبَادِ شَيْئَانِ. Imam alayhi salam elaborates on that point. وَلِلرَّحْمَةِ مِنَ الْعِبَادِ شَيْئَانِ. For the mercy, there are two things from the people that happen regarding the mercy, just like I explained already. For mercy that is coming from the people, two things are there. أحدهما يحدث أحدهما, first of those two things, يحدث في القلب. First of those two things happens inside the heart. And that is الرأفة والرقة. الرأفة والرقة. Ra'fat is also sort of affectionate behavior, affection in the heart, and riqqat means person being soft-hearted. So this feeling happens inside the qalb, inside the heart, inside the soul. Lima yara bil marhum min ad-dur, because he sees in that lima yara bil marhum, because he sees in the person upon whom you are doing the mercy is called marhum. That marhum person means the one upon whom the mercy is performed. Because when you see that marhum person upon whom you are doing the mercy, and you see that guy in hardships, nadur, al-haja, and need, a person is needy, poor guy, so you see him in this situation of need, or durub al-bala, and different types of calamities. Well, so this is feeling of ra'fat, mercy, affection, and soft-heartedness. This feeling happens when you see this kind of person out. This feeling happens in your heart. So that's the first thing related to the meaning of mercy from the people. What's the second thing that happens? والآخر ما يحدث منا بعد الرأفة. والآخر, and the second thing, والآخر ما يحدث منا what happens from us بعد الرأفة, after the affection that happens in the qalb. بعد الرأفة واللطف على المرحوم. اللطف على المرحوم والمعرفة منا بما نزل به. The second thing that happens after the affection in the heart and the lutf that we feel, lutf is also another form of soft behavior, soft feeling that happens about the marhum person, the person upon whom you are having the mercy, the mercied person, someone who's mercied upon. Wal-ma'rifa minna, and after recognizing about what has happened to that guy, we end up having that ra'fat and affection. So after the ra'fat and affection, what happens is this. This is coming now. وَقَدْ يَكُونَ الْقَائِلُ انظُرْ إِلَى رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. So after what happens is the action. That's not here in this hadith which I mentioned in this word, that this way it's not mentioned, but that's what I am explaining to you. After what happens is a person does something towards, when you feel the affection in the qalb, you give him money, or you provide him support. That's your amal and action based on the feeling in the qalb. So this is not in the hadith, but I am saying that after that what happens is the action. So now Imam alayhi salam gives an example. وَقَدْ يَقُولُ الْقَائِلُ. So sometimes a person says, قد يقول القائل انظر إلى رحمة فلان. انظر إلى رحمة فلان. Look at the mercy of such and such person. Look at the mercy of such and such person means look at the mercy done upon him. Look at the action done upon that guy based on the affection in the qalb. Based on the affection in the qalb, you end up doing generosity. So generosity is an action. The action done towards that person, that's how some people sometimes rahmat in Arabic is used in that meaning, which means the action done after the feeling of affection in the qalb. انظر إلى رحمة فلان وإنما يريد الفعل وإنما all he means is the action. إنما يريد الفعل. What he means is the action. Generosity, for example. الذي حدث من الرقة, that action which happens. الذي that action that happens from the soft-heartedness. حدث من الرقة. حدث عن الرقة. Not من الرقة is عن الرقة. What action that happens out of the soft-heartedness. التي في قلب فلان. That soft-heartedness which is in the heart of some such and such person. وإنما يضاف إلى الله. What is attributed to Allah. وإنما يضاف إلى الله عز وجل what is attributed to Allah من فعل ما حدث منا هذه الأشياء. You want to take a picture of this? So I can erase that. So what is attributed towards Allah is the action which happens, from that attribute, right? From these things. Shall I erase this? Yeah, I will explain the whole thing, but I will want to write the whole thing complete if you want. If I can erase it, then I will explain it to you. Should I erase? وأما المعنى الذي في القلب وأما المعنى في القلب, as far as that mana goes, which is in the heart, فهو منفي عن الله. كما وصف عن نفسه, the way Allah Himself described about Himself. And I'll explain this thing, وصف عن نفسه فهو رحيم لا رحمة رقة. So this thing. Now let me explain it to you. So, like I said in the beginning, that mercy is used for the human beings about two meanings. One is the affectionate feeling we have, and the soft-heartedness, the affections that we have when you look around and see people who are in the bad situations, going through hardships, sufferings, need, so calamities. We have mercy upon them, so we feel we have mercy upon them. What does it mean? It means two things. One is in the heart, one is the action. What is in the heart? In the heart, we end up having affectionate feeling towards the guy. What is in the action? We end up doing generosity towards him. We pay him money or provide some help. So there's mercy when it is used for people like us, the humans. It carries two meanings. One is something in the heart, which is the affectionate feeling. The other is the action. Based on that affectionate feeling, we end up doing generosity. For Allah, Imam Salih Islam is explaining to us, for Allah, the feeling in the heart thing, that is negated. فَهُوَ مَنْفِيٌّ عَنِ اللَّهِ. That is negated about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Feeling in the heart, that thing is not there for Allah. What is there for Allah is that He provides the thawab, the reward over those things that are happening in our life. We go through calamities, hardship, Allah provides the thawab and reward. If we are sabir and patient, we get the thawab and reward on that. So when it comes to Allah, there are actions that Allah does. That's what's the meaning of mercy when it is attributed to Allah. Allah performs certain actions. For example, He gives the reward, for example. Not the meaning that we use the mercy for ourselves for two meanings. One was in the heart. That thing does not happen for Allah. So this is the reason why Allah Himself has described about Himself that فَهُوَ رَحِيمٌ, He is merciful, لَا رَحْمَةَ رِقَّةٍ. Not the mercy of softness, like we end up having the soft feeling, affectionate feeling in the heart, and because of that. So what is the point in that? The point is that when we end up having a feeling based on outside situations, this is called change. There is a change taking in us. Taghayyur, in Arabic we say. Tahawwul. Where taghayyur and tahawwul. Whereas in Allah there is no change. The reason why the heart feeling of softness is negated about Allah, and only when it comes to mercy we mean about Allah, the action, the outside action that he performs, for example, rewarding those people on those calamities, is this reward action, right? Not the inside heart feeling, because heart feeling reveals that the person goes through a change. He was not like this, now he feels like that. Whereas in Allah there is no change. He already has the best of the attributes possible, and there is no need for any change. Change happens in those who are not perfect. When Allah is al-kamalul mutlaq, the absolute perfection. When Allah is absolute perfection, there is no meaning for anything to change in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We human beings go through so many changes inside ourselves because we are not perfect, and we, through our positive changes, tend to acquire perfection, and through negative changes we get the decline. Opposite to the spiritual perfection, we have a spiritual decline, right? But we end up having changes. That's the sign that we are not perfect. Whereas Allah, being the absolute perfection, has no change at all in His essence. So those of the attributes which are part of the essence of Allah, because those not part of the essence, that's the wrong word. Those attributes which are nothing but the essence. When we say the word part, that's inappropriate to use for Allah. Those are the attributes which are nothing but His essence, right? Those attributes which are nothing but His essence have no change in that. Because if those attributes end up having change, that means that Zat and essence is having change. Whereas He is absolute perfection, and absolute perfection does not add up with changes. We are imperfect, we require changes for our perfection. So this is the point to remember about the difference of the meaning of mercy when the same word of Rahim, for example, is applied for humans, and the same word derived from the Rahmat, mercy of in Arabic, applied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the difference between the application of the same one word towards two different things. So this is very important point to remember. Very important point to remember. And also we need to keep in mind that I already discussed that earlier, and Allah's attributes are Sifat al-Zat, right? Attributes of His essence, Sifat al-Zat, and Allah's attributes are Sifat al-Af'al. Attributes of actions. The Sifat al-Zat, attributes which are related to His essence, are Aynul Zat. Aynul Zat means nothing but His essence. Nothing different than the essence. Nothing but His essence. So, for example, Sifatul Zat examples, knowledge. Knowledge is among the attributes of essence of Allah. So we call Him Al-Alim, the knowledgeable. Right? So the same Allah is Al-Alim, and the same one who is Al-Alim is Allah. Another attribute of essence is like all-wise. Allah is all-wise. We call it Al-Hakim. Hikmat. Hikmat, the same Allah who is Al-Hakim is the same one who is Allah. The same one who is Allah is the same one who is Al-Hakim. Unlike us when we were born, for example, we were jahil and ignorant, we had zero knowledge at the time of birth. A human has zero knowledge. Unlike a baby fish which is born, it knows how to swim.
Naturally, Allah teaches the baby fish. Whereas a human being, when we are born, we don't have the knowledge, right? We learn the knowledge later on. We acquire the knowledges later on. We don't have the knowledges, For example, a baby bird knows what it's supposed to eat and what's not supposed to eat. For example, you can put a carrot in front of the baby of a leopard. Baby of a leopard knows that much right from the beginning of its childhood that he's not supposed to eat carrot. Who taught that? Allah, right? A baby boy or girl does not know what he or she is supposed to eat and what he or she is not supposed to eat, right? We have ignorance in the time of birth. So we later on acquire the knowledge, right? So this is called Za'idun al-Zat, attributes which are added to the essence. Our attributes are added later on to the essence. Whereas Allah's Sifatul Zat, attributes of the essence, are nothing but His essence. So since the time His essence is there, the attributes were also there. And attributes are nothing but His essence. They are not two different things. This is not Allah and Al-Alim are not two different existences. The same one who is Al-Alim is the one who is Allah, and the same one who is Allah is the one who is Alim, because attributes of essence are nothing but His essence. Whereas Sifatul Af'al are totally different thing. Sifatul Af'al are not the essence of Allah. These are actions done by Allah, and these actions are not the essence. So they are different than the actions. So you can find changes taking place in the actions, but you can never find changes taking place in the attributes which are essence of Allah. There is no change in His knowledge. It's already absolute. There is no change in His wisdom. It's already absolute. There is no change in His qudrat, strength. The same who is Al-Qadir is the one who is Allah. The same one who is Allah is the one who is Al-Qadir. Qudrat and strength of Allah is nothing but His essence, Aynul Zat. So in all the attributes of Allah which are Aynul Zat, they are nothing but His essence. There is zero change, because if you accept change in those attributes, it necessitates that you are accepting change in the essence of Allah, and essence of Allah has no change. In the attributes of actions, the situation is different, because attributes of actions are derived from attributes of essence. It's a very important point to understand. Sifatul Af'al, attributes of actions, are derived from the attributes of essence. For example, an example of attributes of an action. Allah is Al-Khaliq. Allah is, for example, Ar-Raziq. Allah is Ash-Shafi. Al-Khaliq means, let me erase, shall I? Let me erase this thing. Al-Khaliq means the one who creates, the creator. Ar-Raziq, the one who provides sustenance, the sustainer. Rizq, the sustainer. Ash-Shafi, the one who provides the cure from sicknesses, illnesses, the curer. So these are actions. Creating something is an action, right? Providing rizq, sustenance to the existences of the universe, not just human beings. All the existences have rizq and sustenance. Even stones. Everything has a rizq and sustenance of different types, right? So everything has a rizq and sustenance. Allah provides sustenance to every existence. Shifa, and cure, is an action. Allah provides the cure from illnesses. So these are all actions. Attributes of actions are not his essence, they are derived from the attributes of essence. Attributes of essence have no change in it. Attributes of actions may end up having changes taking place in them, because these are not the essence of Allah. It makes sense, change is possible. In attributes of essence, there is no change possible. Why? Because they are nothing but his essence, and his essence has no change. Anything that has change cannot be God, because change requires, it means you are moving from towards perfection or towards decline. In our case, sometimes we move towards decline. So from ma bil quwwa ila ma bil fi'l, from what we have in us potentially, the potential that we have in ourselves, towards ma bil fi'l, what we currently have, from our potentiality to our current status. This is called a change. These changes are in us only because we are not perfect, where Allah is absolute perfection. In his attributes of essence, there cannot be any change. Attributes of actions may have changes, but these are derived from the attributes of essence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Khaliq. Why? This is derived from an attribute of essence. And that attribute of essence is Al-Qadir. And Al-Alim and Al-Hakim. All of them are nothing but his essence. They're all one. The same Allah is Al-Qadir, the same Allah is Al-Alim, the same Allah is Al-Hakim. They're all wise, all knowledgeable, all powerful. It's the same Allah. These are all nothing but his essence. So because he is Al-Qadir, all powerful, and he has knowledge of everything, all knowledgeable, and he has all the wisdom about everything, all wise, because he is like this, he is able to create, and he creates. Because of his strength and power, he creates. Once he creates, he has to also provide sustenance for the creation to survive. Who should provide sustenance after creation? The Creator. That's another action which is a subordinate and subset of the concept of creation. When you create, you provide sustenance for the creation to survive. Now, when the sustenance is provided, rest and then the creation is provided rest and sustenance, it may end up having illnesses as well. Now, who is going to provide the cure from those illnesses that we acquire after eating food? The Shafi, the curer, will provide. So these are all actions that Allah does. And all of these attributes of action are derived from the fact, from the attribute of essence, which is He is Al-Qadir, all-powerful, all strong, and all knowledgeable, and all wise. So every attribute of action has to return back to one of the attribute of essence, and if it returns to even one of them, all of the attributes of essence are nothing but His essence, so it's all the same. Because the one who is all knowledgeable is the one who is all powerful. It's one, right? So it has to return back to the attributes of essence. Attributes of essence have no change. There is no change taking place in these attributes. But in these attributes, changes are possible. He is creating something today, he may not create the same thing again. He created the Noor of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. He's not going to create that Noor for the second time for any other person. Right? So sometimes he creates something, sometimes he may not create the same thing again. So there's a change. It may stop. He provides the risk. He provides the cure. For some people, he may not provide the cure. Right? Because they don't deserve it. So the attributes of actions may end up having changes in them, but the attributes of essence never end up having any change in them. So this is one thing. Now, let's go to the comparative study of Rahmat versus Ghadab. This is a comparison done in the hadith, so you will also learn that, because that's how the hadith does it from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. So when we talked about rahmat, to learn this much about Allah, let's go to the opposite of rahmat, which is ghadab and wrath. وأما الغضب as far as the wrath goes, فهو منا إذا غضبنا. When anger happens from people like us, what happens? What's the meaning of that? إذا غضبنا, when we are angry on something, someone, something. إذا غضبنا, تغيرت طباعنا. When we get angry, our apparent things have changes, visible changes happening in us. Obviously, if you find a person who's angry, his eyes, his face, his color of the skin, complexion, whether his skin gets red, or maybe, usually it gets red. So we have in apparent existence changes appearing in us when we are angry. وَتَرْتَعِدُ أَحْيَانًا مُفَصِلُنَا. ترتعد أحيانا مفاصلنا, and our joints start shivering some of the times. Some people start having their hands, feet, their joints of the body shivering out of the anger. These are the changes that happen in our personalities at the time of anger. ثم نجيء من بعد ذلك بالعقوبات. This is how the humans are. ثم نجيء من بعد ذلك after that we bring the punishments. بالعقوبات. فسمي غضبا. So this is called فسمي غضبا. This is called anger. فهذا كلام الناس. فهذا كلام الناس. This is the statement of the people. Al-Ma'ruf. Famous statement. This is the famous statement of the people. والغضب شيئان. أحدهما في القلب. Ghadab, anger, comprises of two things. Similar to mercy, we're comparatively studying anger versus mercy. Anger, similar to the mercy, is also having, it carries two meanings, two things with it. First thing that it is carrying inside itself is the meaning which is in the heart of the person, and the other one is in outer action in the outside world. أحدهما في القلب. أحدهما في القلب. One is in the heart. One thing of the rat is inside the heart. وأما المعنى الذي هو وأما المعنى الذي هو في القلب فهو منفي عن الله.
أحدهما في القلب. Is there another part I think?
Yeah, but that's not there. I think it's assumed to be understood.
Oh.
Skipped. Sometimes in Arabic we have mustatirat, we hide the things because it's understandable to discover that. So it's not mentioned, but it's understood because one is in the heart and the other one is in the outside, the action in the outside world. It's not mentioned.
So the hadith actually didn't mention it. It's not
Hadith
the
did not
narrator-
mention it.
Not
Yes.
the narrator skipped it.
Hadith is not mentioned. Yes. فهو في القلب. No, we have this law in Arabic available. So, yeah, where did I reach? أما المعنى الذي هو في القلب, as far as the meaning goes, which is inside the heart, when we angry, the feelings that happen inside our qalb, فهو منفي, that is negated from Allah. فهو منفي عن الله. جل جلاله. وكذلك رضاه. وكذلك, and similar is the case of the concept of his rida and pleasure of Allah. And same is the concept about wasakhatuhu, his when Allah is upset or angry or upset. Sakhat means being upset. Wasakhatuhu, being upset. Wa rahmatuhu, and his mercy. على هذه الصفات. So this is again Tafseer Noor uth-Thaqalayn, page 24. The same thing, but this one is page 24. Volume 1, page 24. So let me explain this. So وَأَمَّا الْغَضَبْ فَهُوَ مِنَّا, when anger happens from people like us, from us, when we get angry, we find our body showing changes. Sometimes you find our joints of the body starts shaking. You know, your face expressions, your eyes, your body, your color, skin complexion, all those changes happen in our apparent existence. ثُمَّ نَجِيءُ, and after that. So these are the inside things, because inside we are upset, the body shows the changes. We haven't done any practical action yet. Then after the inside
feeling of being upset happens inside the qalb, inside the heart. We get angry inside the heart. Now is the time we do certain actions in the outside world. We perform things based on that anger in the qalb, in the heart. ثُمَّ نَجِيءُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. And to what are those actions? Obviously, we start showing reactions, punishments. If you are upset on somebody, you start punishing that somebody. And this is how it's called ghadab and anger. So for human beings, when you use the word ghadab and anger, it comprises of two things. One is the feeling of anger inside the heart, and the other is the outside action based on that. But feeling inside the heart, this aspect is again negated about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This feeling reveals change, and changes happen in humans and us, the creatures. Allah, His attributes of essence have no change. So the aspect inside the qalb, those aspects do not apply when we are talking about Allah. فَهَذَا كَلَامُ النَّاسِ الْمَعْرُوفِ. This is the famous statement of the people. Well, ghadab shaytan, so ghadab also comprises of two things. One is in the heart, one is in the outer action. Outside the heart, something, whatever is inside the heart, that is negated about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That refers to the change, right? That's negating. وَكَذَلِكَ رِضَاهُ. So what Allah does when we use the word ghadab and wrath about Allah, Allah blocks His rahmat. This is not mentioned in the hadith, but I'm explaining to you. When Allah is ghadban, when Allah is angry upon someone, Allah stops His mercy and leaves the thing on its own. And when something is left on its own, that means halakat and devastation. When we are left by Allah without His mercy for a fraction of a second on our own, we are doomed to be devastated. We are heading towards the hellfire. Hell is nothing but an inbuilt impact of our own bad beliefs and actions. Because we believe that all the ahkam of the Sharia have athar takwiniya, inbuilt impacts. So we are by default automatically landing ourselves into the hellfire. I repeat the sentence, when we are subjected to the wrath of Allah, He blocks His mercy from reaching us. Now we are left without His mercy. Now that we are left without His mercy, we are bound to be heading towards the hellfire. Our bad deeds, bad beliefs, bad deeds are themselves going to bring about those hellfire and that hell and devastation for ourselves. So that's the action done by Allah. You may say, putting us into the hell. But putting us in the hell, that we say it, but actually we ourselves are the ones who are causing ourselves to enter the hellfire because of the bad beliefs and actions. And the same applies about His pleasure and concept of being upset and mercy. So sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى